record.
Welcome, everyone, to Crash Talk 3D, where real stories and real decisions and real consequences meet face to face. We're back here again to confront about the 3Ds, about the drunk, drug, and distracted driving, which are not just crashes of the past, but are the choices that still being made on today. I'm LaDonna, your host, and Mr. Michael Gershe here is your co-host. And today we want to kind of just kind of lay back and just kind of talk to you about ourselves. So I'm going to start, Michael. Is that all right with you?
Hey,
I'm going
you're the
to.
host. You're perfectly okay to start. This was. I'm just glad we got over the giggles before we actually hit record. So,
No,
uh,
right?
so
Oh,
taking, so yeah, you have the floor. Tell everyone how you got into what you're doing, because everyone has a story about involvement. So let's share your story.
okay. So I basically started out as a defensive driver instructor, and where you get a ticket. And so I received a ticket, and I had to share this because it's really kind of funny. So this ticket I received in front of the judge. I guess I was going over 30 miles an hour. I mean, not 30. No, take that back. No, 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 no. I did not go over 30.
It's already there. It's there. It's on video.
Oh, I mean, I'm going 30, but I think I was in 20 miles an hour zone. But anyway, nevertheless, um, so this is what happened. I went to this defensive driving class and I'm sitting there, of course, this instructor, and I'm like sitting there like kind of bored and I said, I think I can do this. So I basically, that's what led me to be a defensive driver instructor is I felt like, I can do it. So then after years go on, I kept getting people that had stories about getting a DWI, and that just fascinated me. And I'm like, this list is just getting longer and longer and longer of what people have to encounter. So one day, a lady came in after 7 years of me teaching, said, You need to write a book. And so I'll go into that a little bit, but I want to say this. I am a prodigy of a alcoholic. My father is an alcoholic, and so I am a prodigy of a DNA of an alcoholic. And I must say that he did the more intake, and now I speak out, not realizing, because I used to always wonder, why would anybody want to listen to me teaching a class when I don't have that story? I've never lost a limb, and I don't, I don't have a DWI, but so why would anyone want to listen to me? And then I realized that I love telling everybody else's story, and it makes an impact. But my father is probably what really touched me. And I realized that, and it still kind of brings tears to my eyes sometime when I talk about it, but I realized that he died alone. And I realized that no one wants to die alone. And how it really got to me was I am teaching class. And when I got the message that my father passed away, I got a phone call, and my sister basically called me and said, Our father has passed. And so I it was shocking because in 2 weeks, I was about to go see my father because we had a family reunion. And the family reunion, I called my dad like that Sunday and to say, Hey dad, we got 2 more weeks, I'll be seeing you. And he didn't pick up. And then I got the call on Monday that our father passed away. And right then and there, I realized
It's okay.
that I
Take your
had a
time.
story that nobody wants to die alone because I, when I got off the plane to go to Chicago, I had to go straight to a funeral home. And when I went to that funeral home and not seeing my dad, for years. And here I was about to go see him. I was so excited because I had a start over child and I wanted my dad to see my accomplishments and everything. I'm sorry.
No,
I can't
you know what?
believe
You
I am the
don't have to
host.
apologize at all.
I'm the host and but anyway, um, when I got there, this lady, I got to the funeral home, the lady was like, she said, "So I hear you haven't seen your father in so long." And I said, "Yes, and I'm ready to see him now. You got to go view the body and let it all go, let it out. And so I I was ready to do that. And she says, "You you must not be understanding me." And I'm looking at her with this look on my face like, this is my dad, not your dad. And she says, "You haven't seen him so long. He doesn't look the same." She's talking to me like that. And I basically said to myself, okay. And then the last thing she told me was, what you see is what you'll remember. And I realized that moment I had to make a decision. Do I forget how this lady's talking to me and said, no, this is my dad, and I want to view, I need to say my goodbyes? Or do I just remember every good time with him? And so I made the decision to remember all the good times. And that moment, I realized that I had a story because every person that come through my class, I wanted them to know that you, whatever experience you have, remember the good times. And I took my dad's legacy because I felt like, you know, I'm going to turn around because he died of cirrhosis of the liver, I believe, if I said that right, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that nobody wants to die alone because that's exactly what happened to my dad. My dad didn't have anyone there at the in Chicago when he died, when the ambulance and everybody got there. He died in heat also. And I'm not going to get so gruesome, but when they got there to him, um, my sister got there, and when she finally, when she got there, she actually called me in the middle of, I could hear the sirens and everything. And so that's why I guess the passion, I've gotten to the point that everybody has a story, and no matter what the situation is, you have to hear it. And then as time went on, when every time I taught a class, and that's where I wrote the book, Consequences and Compassion, is because I realized there's consequences behind every decision that we make. But the compassion part is, do I forgive and do I not forget, but do I forgive? I forgave my dad for leaving. I forgave my dad for never calling me by LaDonna. I forgave my dad. He didn't. He never called me LaDonna. He called me a nickname, which I won't tell everybody, but yeah, so that's my story. My defensive driving class is what helped me, and listening to their stories, and went through a lot of laughter, went through a lot of tears, went through a lot of hugs. And 13 years plus, I have to say, I've really enjoyed and missing. And my book is so informative that I realized that there's 100 things in my book that people would not. And this is my book. I'm so proud of it. LaDonna Claude. And it says Lessons from the Front Lines of Drunk, Drug, and Distracted Driving. It's a really informative book. This is a book that I would say every person that drives, especially new drivers as well, would need to read this. It tells people stories, some high profiles in this book, some people from my class. And so I would say it's something good to read. It's a 3.5 hour. So that's my story. And as they say, I'm sticking to it.
Well, I think
But
all of us moved by your story. And of course, speaking for everyone who's watching it, we really want to know the nickname that he called.
Oh my gosh. I'm probably going to embarrass myself. Okay, here it is. I am going to go ahead. I'm going to be woman enough. I'm going to say it. Dito.
Oh, that's awesome. There's nothing embarrassing about that.
He would call me Dito. And I mean, literally, he never said my name. And I was always Dito. And I have three first cousins that still call me that is Dito. So that's
That's
my
awesome.
nickname.
But I also, we all have stories, as we talked about before we started doing this, and we also realize that when someone passes away, we often find meaning in their deaths.
Yes,
And, you found that meaning with your father's passing, and that journey. And, even though we all suffer grief and loss, how we deal with it could be similar, but the pain I think we feel is the same, but then how we cope and get through it is our own special journeys. And,
yes,
you know, if your book and your story could help someone, then it's all worth it.
totally. And, and that's exactly why I guess I felt led to write it. It's to save lives. I wanted someone that you're not alone. And this one lady's story in my book really, really touched me. And that's when I realized that, you know, she's not an alcoholic. And I can share her story another time, but yes. So I want to let's turn it over to you now, Michael. You got me so you broke me. You did. I thought
Me,
I was gonna stay strong on this.
all I asked was your nickname. I have, that's all I did. I'm not
All
cutting
right.
onions around you or, doing
No,
all that.
right?
It's,
My gosh.
it's, I'm way in Ohio. I did nothing this time. So, um, well, with your classes and teaching people, the strategies and so forth, what do you think has been the best part of that for you?
Oh, the change. When I had someone tell me, LaDonna, I haven't laughed in so long. Thank you. Or I had now this is another one, and I have this story in my book. Is a judge come to he didn't even tell anyone he was a judge. And he basically says, I work for the county.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay. Because, I go around and ask everybody, what do they do? And he let everybody leave. And when he said, and this is before I wrote the book, he said, LaDonna, I'm very much aware of everything that you wrote on your list. And I have to say, 100 things on that list is just blowing me away. And I deal with this all the time. And I said, well, no, he said, this is the first thing he said. He says, we got a problem. And I looked at him. I'm like, we sure do. I can't say I have a solution yet, but we sure do. He said, and that's when he said, LaDonna, I'm a judge and I deal with this day in and day out. I hear this. But to see what you put on the board and broke it down is just unreal. And I never looked at it like that. Those kind of stories for me, a gratification to show that what I'm doing had some meaning. A 5 DWI that came in my class who came again and brought his wife and said, you got to hear this lady. He had 5 DWIs. And he said, LaDonna, I am wrong. And I have five. He said, but I have to say, I never looked at it broken down like that. I'm aware of it and I'm going through it, but I didn't realize the way you presented it. It just made me really think of how he evaluated himself differently. Or someone says, I'm so hurt of what that person done to me and I can't forgive them. But then leave my class says, I have more of a compassion. Or a gentleman, and I think I wrote this on, says, I, I was so angry, but now since I've heard you and being in your class, he said, I have to admit, I look back at what I did. He said, he told a story. He says, I went and wrote the gentleman that killed my fiance and asked him to be in my, he said, I found love again. I want to be in your, I want you to come to my wedding. Now, you ask someone that just killed your fiance and now you found love again, and you're asking that man, I want you to show up to my wedding. I found love again. That's the gratitude. Those stories like that telling me, thank you. There's a change.
Right.
So,
There you go. Awesome. And that's why we do what we do. So,
and that that someone sees accountability,
mhm.
you know, that I don't think no one wakes up want to set out from drinking and want to kill someone. I think it goes a little further than that. But now I don't have the answer for people that just keep doing it over and over.
Right.
I don't have the answer for that one. But
I don't think we ever will because they're the ones that need to find an answer,
true,
not us, right?
true. And that's
So,
where I said they
yeah.
have to be accountable.
Mhm.
Yes. So I guess this was all about me on today. I guess we're just gonna do another one on you later.
Right. I mean, we still have some time. I could fit it in. It's we
Oh, okay.
we have.
Okay.
So my story's a little bit different. And
Yes.
when I was 8 weeks old, my dad was driving us back from Long Island, and we live about an hour away from the house, or from Long Island. Our brother, who was 3, was sleeping in the back seat. My mom was in the front middle seat next to my dad, and I was next to my mom in a little baby carrier. And about a less than a mile away from our house, we were at the red light, and our light turned green, and my dad started to go through the intersection when a drunk driver plowed through the intersection and T-boned the car.
Mm.
The force of the impact was so loud, it woke up the neighbors around that intersection. When the first responders arrived, they found two mangled metals of mess. Remember, this is 1970 when they built cars to last, right? Not like
Right.
not like today where you can fart on a smart car and it blows over for like 3 or 4 miles. They built cars back then. And
Yes.
our car was pushed into a telephone pole, so it split the car all the way up to the dashboard. When the first responders were there, they found my dad, my mom, and my brother. My dad was knocked unconscious. 10, 15 minutes later, someone found me sandwiched between the door and the dash of the car. And we were taken by ambulance to the hospital. My brother didn't have a scratch on him, which is a miracle. My
Wow.
dad had to get stitches from the windshield hitting him. My mom was taken into surgery. And as for me, nearly every bone in my body was broken. My skull was completely fractured from one side of my head to the other. So the fact that I am 55 years old and talking to you and everyone else is really a miracle. Despite my injuries, I grew up to be a competitive swimmer. I earned a swimming scholarship for college. Became a comedian, which was like really the only thing I ever wanted to do as a kid. Being a comic or Spider-Man. I'm still holding out hope for science that I could shoot webs somewhere out of my body to be a superhero. A photographer like my dad, a speaker, because my mom, unfortunately, who was 28 years old, died of her injuries. So you're looking at a mother's child who never knew his mom because of a drunk driver. The word mom isn't in my own vocabulary. It's just not there. If I say the word mom, there's no emotion or love behind it. It's just like the word the. Um,
Yes.
Now, the word mother is in my vocabulary, usually followed by another word when I'm stuck in traffic, but that's a whole other conversation that we could have. Um,
Don't tell me you have a little bit of road rage. No.
no, no, just traffic rage. That's
It's
it.
traffic rage. Okay.
Just totally different. It's like standing in a long line. I'm like, why isn't this line getting any longer? And but I use my mother's death as purpose. And all right, so this is saying we have about 10 minutes left, so I'll wrap it
Okay.
up.
All right.
Um, I used my mother's death as purpose. I joined SAD when I was in high school, and I found my voice. And when I was in college and part of campus activities board, I didn't know there was campus speakers for this stuff. And I did magic as a kid. So that's why my program is really the magic of life. Because when I first started, in grad school at the University of Akron, I had a student said, "Can you put together a fun alcohol awareness program for my sorority?" So I was doing magic tricks to symbolize what alcohol does to the body, along with my story as well. And over time, it just
Sure.
kind of
Okay.
grew. When 9/11 hit and I couldn't bring some magic tricks on the plane with me, like the needle through the balloon, I dropped all the magic part and just did stand up beforehand. Because humor is my way to, is a defense mechanism. It's a way to connect the audience when I talk to DUI offenders. Really, the first 5, 10 minutes is comedy. Because if I
Mhm.
start off with my story, they don't know who I am. So
Right.
it's a good introduction. And it reduces tension because you've been in there, the DUI offenders are mad, they don't want to be there. So if I catch them on balance, when I do share my story, they're leaning forward, they're paying attention. Um, they give, afterwards, they give you a hug or a handshake or they buy
Hmm.
a book. But where you said that forgiveness, even at my age, I don't think I can forgive the man that killed my mother. And I know some people could give forgiveness, some people can't because he took away something so precious from all of us. And now it's my turn to get somewhat emotional. Life would be totally different. And I have a good life. I have this wonderful woman named Dolly who is Jamaican, who, along with my dad, raised me and my brother as her own flesh and blood. So you take
Wow.
something so horrible of losing our mother, and here was a woman that was supposed to be a part-time job turned into a lifetime role. And the powers that be or whatever it is, um, it's a miracle that she came to her life and stayed with us. And it was never a matter of color or creed or religion. I tell people I'm Jewish Jamaican, really, because that's just, it is. But
Okay.
but again, you take that horrible situation,
Yes.
and I have a mother figure. Now, I, when I was younger, I would think about all those what ifs, what if my mom was alive? And that would drive you insane a little bit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
more than anything. But I have to deal with the life I have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in 2018 when my dad passed away in January, and my aunt who passed away, her anniversary is coming up on Tuesday, 8 years.
Okay.
I had to go into grief counseling because I was not going to see the end of a week in June. And it's not like I wanted to die, I just wanted the pain to stop because I was dealing with my dad's death and my aunt's. And of course, like a man, we don't handle grief and trauma very well.
Right.
And I had two friends that recognized that I was not myself. Um, one of my friends is a photographer. She took photos of me at a fundraiser that we had for my foundation, and she
Mm-hmm.
said we can't use these photos because you have sad eyes. The same week, I met my friend that was going to be my grief counselor. She says, "You don't look like yourself. Go fill out the application." And it took me a day. I went home, did the application online. Every question was yes. There was the one question that was no. I wasn't pregnant, so that was good. Um,
Okay.
but the first question she asked me in counseling was, oh, not really a question, it was more of a statement. She goes, "Let's talk about your mother's death and how that impacted all your relationships." And I was like, "I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about my father and my aunt." But I was 47 years old, Adina, and for the very first time, processing my mother's death responsibly, I guess is a good word for, or, at all. Because I would shove it inside, use humor to deflect stuff. Even though I always did my program for high schools and colleges, military bases, and courts, I never really examined it or healed. Still healing, but having those tools to deal with it. And I couldn't run from it anymore. And I'm very grateful for my grief counselor for making me see that. So, and like you, I wrote my book. I had a good friend, Greg Morton, who is another comedian. He was a semifinalist on America's Got Talent. And back in the late 90s, we were working together, and he heard my story and he made me promise to write a book. And it took me 20 years to write it because I'm a procrastinator and I love naps. So it's really it's a magical life, a son's story of hope after tragedy, grief, and a speedo because I was a swimmer. Okay,
Mhm.
that's why again humor in the title. So you could laugh, you could cry, but it's for anyone that's gone through tragedy, grief, um, and how to get through it. The processing. It's my story. It's Dolly's story.
Okay.
Dolly didn't want me to use her name in it. I go, what? Do I still embarrass you? Uh,
Tell
and
everyone where they can get the book at.
so the book, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes and Noble. You can email
Okay.
me for autographed copy. They're about $25 with shipping, and yeah, I mean, now you have two people with great books to read that can help
Yes.
and change your lives. And I think we'll do like a book giveaway every so often to
Yes.
for a viewer. So in a nutshell, that's my story about being a survivor. And I do these programs, almost what Candace said last week. I do
Mhm.
these for my mom. Someone has to stand up for her. I do it for other people who don't have the ability to share their story, and I
True.
do it so for those people in the audience don't have to. I mean, this is
Right.
my life. I don't want other people to go through what my family went through because it's horrible. I don't want that for anyone. And, the only thing we could do is help and change lives.
Well, I have to say, I knew it was a connection when I heard your story. I want to get this out before our time is up, but I know it's like I had to think back, how did Michael come in my pathway? And sir, when I listened to your audiobook, my spirit says contact him and see if he would be willing to be a co-host on this because I was thinking about doing this a year ago and I was wanting someone else, but they could never find the time. And you know what? You are the perfect person with me on this because of your background, your being on TED Talks and the author and all your avenues, being in front of the audience. And I think both of our backgrounds came together as one mission
Right.
because that's exactly what we have. Mine started in a class and yours started tragedy.
Yeah.
So, but I have to say, it's so unique how we both have a book out, which mine also is at um, Amazon. You can get and on Barnes and Noble, and I
Right.
as well because I'm an instructor. Also, I have a workbook along with it that people can actually teach. And so, but I want to say, how many more minutes we have?
We have a minute 30. And
All right.
so before we go, I'm going to share the nickname Dolly gave me.
Okay.
Michael Finnegan was the
Michael
nickname
Finnegan.
she
Okay.
gave me. So I
Okay.
wanted to get that out before. I didn't want you to be left alone with, you
Thank
be the
you.
only one having a nickname.
I appreciate that.
I would feel guilty about that.
All right, before we close, Michael, would you tell everyone how they can get in contact with us and
Sure. CrashTalk3D at gmail.com. You can find us on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, but really just send us an email at crashtalk3D at gmail.com.
we want to hear your stories because I must say we already are getting people signing up and it's already going through October. So please send your stories. If you don't want to talk, we'll talk for you as well. But I want to say thank you, Michael. It's been such a pleasure being on my side through this journey with me. I think, sir, we're going somewhere. Everyone, have a nice day, afternoon, or night, whatever time you're listening to this. We thank you. Bye. Crash
Bye.
Talk 3D.